Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on Our News.
Another fire at BPL's Clifton Pier plant. We'll tell you what that means for power generation straight ahead.
Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands continues his testimony in the Frank Smith trial.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquim. Top of news tonight, Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands wrapped up his testimony in the Frank Smith bribery and extortion trial this morning. Under intense questioning from lead defense attorney Katie Knight QC, Sands admitted on the stand that he deviated from the norm when he approved a $1.8 million cleaning contract to Magic Touch Cleaning Company months after its owner donated to his election campaign. Dr. Sands also denied the case revolves around two politicians and the police. Jasmine Brown has the latest.
It was Sands' fourth day on the stand as he continued his testimony before Chief Magistrate Joanne Ferguson Pratt. The health minister spent nearly 2 hours on the stand as Knight continued to cross-examine him. The Jamaican QC questioned Sands about his knowledge of PHA policies and the existence of the PHA board when Sands met with then Managing Director Herbert Brown and Board Chairman Julian Roll on August 9th. Sands previously testified that during that meeting he and the two men discussed the awarding of the contract to Magic Touch, which is owned by the prosecution's star witness Barbara Hanna. During proceedings in July, Knight produced for the court a contract dated October 30, 2017 that showed Hanna's company had been awarded a $1.8 million contract. Under questioning from Knight, Sands testified that the contract that was awarded to Magic Touch was the subject of board consideration in December 2017. Knight then highlighted segments of the minutes from a December 14, 2017 PHA board meeting where the contract awarded to Barbara Hanna and the process through which it was awarded was referred to as unfortunate, and that the board noted in those minutes that the matter was not brought before the board for ratification. Sands responded by saying he did not say which day in December the board discussed the matter. Knight then asked Sands if he was intent on approving a contract for Magic Touch. After Sands admitted on the stand that he did not expect the AG's office would respond in time to inquiries he had ordered seeking advice about the Magic Touch tender before the board's first meeting on August 16, 2017. Sands denied Knight's assertion. It was previously revealed during the trial that Hanna had contributed to Sands' election campaign and that one of her sons worked as a volunteer for 2 of his campaigns. As he wrapped up his cross-examination, Knight then asked Sands if he took the contract to cabinet for approval, considering the contract was over $1 million. Sands responded no. Knight asked Sands if he deviated from the norm, and the health minister responded yes. Under re-examination from the prosecution, lead prosecutor Edward Jenkins QC asked Sands if it was the set procedure for contracts over $1 million to go to cabinet. Sands said sometimes and explained that the policy varies. He also testified that the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Health had not indicated it needed to be taken to cabinet. Jenkins then asked Sands why he deviated from the usual, and Sands responded by testifying that it was an urgent matter as there had been cleaning issues at the hospital and that it had to be expedited to ensure the continuity of the hospital. Sands also testified that after he met with Brown and Roll on August 9th, he expected the matter would be on the board's agenda for their meeting on August 16th. He said he had no reason to believe the board did not discuss the matter at the meeting. After Sands wrapped up his testimony, the prosecution then sought to question a bank employee. It was at that point that defense attorney Damian Gomez informed the court that the defense had still not received key banking documents it had requested despite a Supreme Court order more than a year ago. Gomez said what he was shown confirmed his suspicion that up to May of this year, Hanna did not pay value-added tax. Both sides say they intend on going back to the Supreme Court for another order so that they could obtain the remaining bank documents. Also briefly taking the stand today was Commonwealth Bank Compliance Officer Audrey Ann Dames and police investigator Yule Johnson. They are expected back on the stand when the case resumes on November 13th. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, firefighters spent the past few days fighting 3 fires at Bahamas Power and Light's Clifton Pier plant. The latest blaze happened just this morning, raising further questions about the troubled company's ability to power the island. As Jared Higgs tells us, the fires resulted in power outages for Western New Providence over the weekend, and more can be expected during the week.
Two fires over the weekend at BPL led officials to tell members of the public that they could be without electricity in spotty patches throughout this week. A third fire at the Clifton Power Plant on Monday morning raises many more questions about the utility company's ability to supply power to the island. Director of Police Fire Services, Chief Superintendent Walter Evans, says this third blaze took place in the vicinity of the previous two, and as a precaution, they will be sticking close to the southwestern New Providence power station.
We have determined that the resources of the police fire services, we will allow them to be stationed at the BPL's power plant at intervals during the course of the day to ensure that there's no reignition. Ensure if there are any issues that we may look at, we'll be able to address those matters in a very, very quick fashion.
These infernos have added to a tumultuous summer at the power company. Engines tripping offline, sometimes due to lightning strikes, have resulted in large swaths of customers being without electricity. Additionally, the unceremonious removal of the entire BPL board led to a nasty back and forth between three former board members and Public Works Minister Desmond Bannister. The Prime Minister has since ordered an investigation into the BPL saga. Fast forward to Friday night's fire, which resulted in major blackouts for many of BPL's Western New Providence customers for as long as 8 hours. Opposition leader Philip Davis, who visited the plant today, says the constant disruption in service is a threat to the country's commerce.
We have to appreciate and understand that power, electricity, is the heart of everything. It is the heart of the economy. And if it stops ticking, the economy will die. Everything requires power and electricity to operate. And what is happening now, we are seeing the delivery of power being so unreliable.
Davis says the Public Accounts Committee, while under-resourced, will soon decide whether it will inquire further into matters related to BPL.
We are having a meeting in the morning, and we will decide whether what other matters will take up. We must also remember that it's only a few of us. The resources are not being provided to the PAC to be able to make all the inquiries we ought to, and with our limited resources, we're going to do our best to do what we can to reveal to the Bahamian people that which we think they should know.
Friday's fire began at 10:30 p.m. when a technician was attempting to bring a generator that had been out of service back online. Sunday night's fire took place in the vicinity of Friday's fire and reportedly led to more load shedding. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks, Jared. While opposition leader Philip Davis is defending the former administration's handling of Bahamas Power and Light. Davis says it was a mistake for government to sever ties with BPL's former management company, PowerSecure. When asked if PowerSecure should be re-engaged, Davis agreed. However, he stated that there are other similar options.
It doesn't have to be PowerSecure. Obviously, what they have now is not the answer. They need to find an answer. I wouldn't say just bring PowerSecure back. I say that because that went through the proper processes, through a bid process, and they were the ones that were identified by my government to do what they were supposed to do. Right. So yes, if they are able to rework an arrangement with them, I will welcome them to do that.
Davis was also asked to respond to criticism that the former administration was responsible for some of the issues facing BPL today.
We met in place a dilapidated plant. We met in place a BEC that was teetering on bankruptcy. We met in place an ineffective plant, an ineffective product. We went about immediately seeking to correct those challenges. No new challenges arose during 2012 and 2017. No new challenges. We were addressing the challenges that we met.
In other news, a 17-year-old boy of Rock Crusher was arraigned in the magistrate's court today on charges of murder. It is alleged that on February 3rd, the teen caused the death of Okel Solomon. According to police reports, 45-year-old Solomon died in hospital after being shot during an attempted carjacking. He was reportedly in his vehicle on East and Broome Streets when two gunmen demanded his vehicle. According to reports, Solomon did not comply and was shot as he drove off. After being shot, police say he managed to get to the Southern Police Station. In court today, the teen accused of his murder was not required to enter a plea and was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until December 11th, when he will return to court for a voluntary bill of indictment. Well, government will pay another $20 million toward the purchase of the Grand Lucayan Resort and take out a 3.5-year mortgage for the remaining $35 million, according to Hotel Corporation Chairman Michael Scott. The government has agreed to purchase the resort for the full asking price of $65 million. Scott wouldn't say when the $20 million would be paid, but The Guardian reported today that the payment is to happen soon. Scott is the chairman of the Special Purpose Vehicle Board, which is seeking a buyer for the resort. He said he hopes to have an investor within the next 6 months, adding he has been meeting with investors and screening people in a very thorough exercise. When the government signed a sales agreement with Hutchison Whampoa last month, it made a down payment of $10 million. The sale was expected to be finalized tomorrow, but Scott said the government has to issue a guarantee under the agreement of sale. In order to issue a guarantee, Scott noted that the government will have to seek a resolution in the House of Assembly. The House is currently on break and will not meet until September 19th. Still to come on Our News, a food scientist makes the case for medical marijuana ahead of a landmark symposium. Plus, preparations underway for the 25th Red Ribbon Ball. Stay tuned.